Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to start because I know I'm probably going to go over and I'm going to affect these guys over here. So today I'm going to talk about making sense of digital loss and making digital loss less painful, and the lessons that I learned personally from the removal of the Historypin mobile application. All right, let's all, enjoy his misery, but this was me 6 months ago. The Albright Knox Art Gallery in Buffalo, New York has made significant strides over the past few years in using various mobile and web platforms to make the museum's fine art collections, fine art digital assets, library, and archives collections more accessible to our on-site audiences, both inside and outside the museum, and also to our online audiences. Instead of investing time and resources into creating our own mobile app, in 2012, the Albright Knox leveraged Historypin, a free, simple, and effective web-based and mobile platform, to create several walking tours exploring objects in the museum's collections, including one of outdoor sculpture on the museum's campus and a tour of architectural buildings throughout the city of Buffalo. Tying into the theme of this year's MCN, the platform offered us a really unique way to showcase the marrying of physical and digital materials, and gave our audiences who may not have the time, money, or desire to even visit the interior of our museum the ability to interact with these interesting resources for free using a computer, a smartphone, a tablet, wherever they are. To give you a little bit of background information for those who don't know, Historypin ultimately supports people and organizations that are passionate about using cultural heritage to bring communities together. As a nonprofit, their central aim is to build the simplest, most effective digital tools which support community engagement, and to use these resources when they can have the maximum effect, while maintaining a small set of effective, specific tools rather than a large range that can do many things. Since they launched, they maintain both the website and the mobile app for iOS and Android, enabling people to discover and share these materials when they're at their desks or when they're out in the world. Unfortunately, even the most effective digital tools don't last forever. Like all software, Historypin's mobile application required constant maintenance to keep it working well on the most current versions of smartphones and tablets. And on April 22nd, a very rough day, Historypin made the disappointing decision to remove that mobile application from the Apple and Google Play stores. They stated that the app would continue to work if you had previously downloaded it to your device, but individuals can no longer download it and they wouldn't be making updates. And April 22nd was the day that I was ready to submit my real presentation to MCN, which was going to talk about how wonderful this tool is. So they did a disservice to themselves, I think. But this abrupt loss of a valued resource and key digital tool has left many Albright Knox staff members, including myself, wondering what steps we can take to move forward to make digital loss less difficult, especially when the app was super successful with our visitors and received so much positive feedback within the Buffalo community. This app was kind of the first time that the Albright Knox kind of looked outside of themselves. Instead of being so focused on art, we actually became focused more on Buffalo, the city of Buffalo, and our tie to the city of Buffalo for the last 153 years. And so it was super positive. Everybody, from, all over Western New York was contacting me and wanted to know more about photographs of Buffalo architecture. And so I know, members of the Albright Knox staff are not alone. Digital loss is happening to cultural institutions all the time. So what does this loss of a valued resource and changes to technology mean for our content? Well, our stuff, I know content isn't the best word anymore according to MCN this year, but our stuff is still here. The physical objects, artworks, buildings, doc files, black and white photographs, the digital objects, born digital photography, research, typed up stories, PDFs, all that stuff that makes my organization relevant and wonderful still exist. we merely lost the vehicle for delivering this stuff to our visitors, and we can always replace the vehicle. All the hard work that went into locating, researching, digitizing, editing, uploading, sharing was already done. And Historypin at its core, the website, and all of the stuff we did was still there. It was still available to those who wanted it. So in the mobile application, I'm definitely not trying to say that it was perfect. It was clear through various communication engagement projects and from feedback from visitors and staff members that they wanted a more lightweight, targeted mobile application. More site-specific applications would need to be developed to make it easier for our visitors to do more than just one thing, like recording an oral history or digitizing and uploading their own photo to our collections, or following a trail that would lead to a pin outside of our collection. And how will our on-site and online audiences be affected? Although our stuff is still available, it was no longer delivered in the way that we had promised to our on-site and online visitors. So we had to change or remove language from our website, our Historypin channel, remove signs like these wonderful ones that we kind of posted throughout the city and in the museum and on our campus, and educate the staff and members of the public, including the Buffalo News, who did this wonderful first page article about the tours, that right after they did this, 10 months later, we had to tell them that this wasn't available anymore. So the loss of the tool affected our on-site visitors, both at the museum and on our campus, much greater than our online visitors. Because like I said, the stuff was still there. On-site, we lost a valuable and free vehicle that explored 75 buildings through Buffalo, but also 30 artworks on our campus. We use this tool to offer a photograph and a description of the artworks, background information detailing when the artwork was installed, and even including installation process views. I don't know if there's one. Yeah, so that Boulder, the Andy Goldsworthy Boulder, is actually this. So that boulder went under the ground. So we were able to offer kind of background information that we can't do on site, and that I don't think we have any plans to do with extended labels for our outdoor sculptures in the future. So what tools can we utilize in order to make this content available? Oops, am I on the right one? Yes, nope, sorry about that. We are currently going through a website relaunch, and are optimistic that this content, this stuff, will have a home on our new site. Google Maps is a big possibility, as we have used this to document our public art initiative. And we've also explored numerous other social media tools to push this key content to our online visitors. One way we do this is a weekly Pin of the Week post on our Tumblr account with links that then are shared to Facebook and Twitter. These posts continue to share the hard work that went into creating these pins, collections, and tours. So yes, all this information is now available to anyone visiting our campus online, but but our online audiences are not really greatly affected, as I said. The tours are still available as well. I can go back. These tours, but you have to see them in front of a computer. They're not mobile optimized. The website's not mobile optimized. So that makes it rough. So how is our hard work and the expensive resources justified after a loss? So taking a step back from the platform for 6 months kind of was like a breakup that I went through. At the time, I was like devastated, and now I'm just like, ugh, Historypin. Who cares? So I firmly believe, though, that relationship that I had was real and should be justified. I'm not crazy. So if you're sharing content online that can't be shared anywhere else, there was a reason why I went through that. And the loss of an application might leave us a bit weary moving forward, but now we're aware. The hard work was not done in vain, and the content's still available for those who want it and seek it. And really, we didn't lose any money. This is a free tool. We only lost the time that I personally invested into this, the time that my interns have worked super, super hard on this project, and my assistants. So yeah, there was definitely resources when it came to staff time, but not any large amount of money that we invested into this. So moving forward, should we invest? I'm gonna say no. I think we should always utilize free, far-reaching, publicly available, and use digital platforms. Historypin reaches 65,000 individuals worldwide and has 2,500 libraries, archives, museums, schools, universities that are adding to this platform. And I think it's worth the investment. The number of art lovers or non-art lovers that actually became followers of the Albright Knox was crazy. Like, we would have never even been able to tap into that audience without this tool. And so I believe that if we invested in and developed our own technology, we might have run across the same exact issues as Historypin, and they are supported in part by Google. So yes, should Historypin put more resources into maintaining the app? They should have, but they didn't. Maybe they'll focus, well, side note, a week ago, Historypin emailed me and said, oh, we're making all these wonderful changes to the site, and it's going to do everything that you now want it to do. So I guess I'll have to talk in the next 6 months, and now that we have this relationship going again. But so I'm just going to go real fast because I think my time's up. But beautiful pictures of people interacting in our spaces with mobile devices. So last slide. How can we adapt to make a loss like this less painful? And so, like the American poets, New Kids on the Block said, we have the right stuff. So this stuff is all still ours, this content that's great. And as long as we are able to utilize this stuff and push it to something other than this one particular vehicle, we're going to be successful. And if we aim to be important and relevant and present, not just with an audience that we're used to having a dialogue with, but think about other audiences within your community that you can tap into with these free resources. Historypin wasn't a directive that came from above for management for me. This was something that I saw and heard about in a conversation at MCN 4 years ago. Someone said Historypin, and I was like, what is that? Went back, brought it to my boss and said, can we do this? And she goes, just as long as we don't tell anybody. But yeah, go ahead and do it. And so then we started getting all this traction. Then people started finding out about it, and then the education department decided, sorry if there's educators here, but they decided that they were going to brand it as one of their tools. And I had never even thought that it could be that. I just thought it was a really cool, nerdy, digital tool. But yeah, we then started to sell it as an educational tool, and something that I thought, was small became this bigger thing. So always try to connect within your organization and also try to connect outside of your organization. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I feel like I've been rambling. So. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah?
I understand your concept that we still have the stuff, and that's very valuable. But I worry about extending more discussion to things like online storage, the cloud, that more museums are relying upon, where they have our stuff at this point, and it still is a third-party commercial vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on how you future-proof that?
Well, I've actually taken steps this summer. So since April up until this day, I've been actually archiving all the things that I have posted onto Historypin. So all the stories that have been written that are attached to all of these artworks, they're not extended here, but all of these stories are going to be archived and actually pushed into our collections management system as a description. And then all these images we have elsewhere. They're sitting in our digital asset management system. So it's not that I'm relying on anything else to kind of store this content for us. This was just a way to kind of push it outside of our website and outside of using something else to push it to another untapped audience. I think I answered your question. I hope so. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
One of the
that's an excellent idea. And I think that can apply to all sorts of things, because I've actually gone to digital asset management sessions about digital loss and what do you do, when you lose a server, but it has yet to really kind of tap into what about online and website tools. So
Just to follow up on that, there is a thing called data management plans that museums haven't exactly adopted yet, but that would address the issue where you're talking about, the whole life cycle, including the potential for loss.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I just have a comment. I can empathize with you. When I was in grad school, I was working on pachyderm projects, and it was flash-based, and I was like, I'm going to be the next pachyderm museum kind of went away. But I think the takeaways from that are like really how you organize the information, how you get that collection stuff on the web, and then I learned how to use kind of the beginnings of WordPress. So you start building some skills using these tools. They're free, so you have to spend some time on it, but you kind of develop some skills that might translate to another platform.
And that's I've definitely never even thought about what like Google Maps and actually like the pinning. Oops, I passed it. Like pinning content directly into Google Maps. This was only partially because of the Historypin wasn't doing what we wanted anymore, and we saw this as an amazing but another free tool that mirrors exactly what Historypin is doing. And I wouldn't have known how to do this if I hadn't invested that time in learning another tool. And going rogue and doing my own thing. And I'm not trying to stand up here and tell everybody to do that within their institution, but I think it's fun, and it helped us a great deal. And from this, we also have other tools that we're now using, like Tiki-Toki. I don't know if anyone here uses Tiki-Toki timelines. It's not free, but it's $25 a month, and you can create free timelines and document various things. Like we now use it for our exhibition history. So it's another outside source. We couldn't put it on our website, and now we're trying to bring that back in. So yeah, I'll let you guys. Does anyone else? Okay, I've already taken up too much time. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I'll take that to Brendan Knowles, which is the manager of their offices is actually next door to us. So I'll try to talk to them if they can release something else. I'll try to, again, good morning everyone. I'll try to squeeze what is actually 10 years of our history into a 10 minutes presentation, which will be a bit of a challenge. So I'll try to go very fast, so it's impossible to be very thorough, but there's a lot of stuff that you can explore online if you're interested in this. It's an ambitious title, Writing History Without Detective, and you'll see why the title is so ambitious. Just 1 minute about who we are. We've been going as Keep Thinking for 14 years now. We only work for cultural organization. We only do digital, and we cover from digital from collections management systems to website and mobile apps. We work a lot in many different places. We're based primarily in London, but we work in the States. We work in Hong Kong, in Canada, and in continental Europe as well. And we've been quite successful in what we've done. Now, what is our detective? Our detective, there's a lot of talk about crowdsourcing. Our detective is kind of a crowdsourcing application, but we call it more of an expert network. So it's a very specific, very specialist type of crowdsourcing, which is aimed at professionals, not really so only professional, which is aimed at people that know something and they want to share it. They don't need to be within the museum community. They don't need to be within the academic community. They need to know what they're talking about and be able to justify it. Wikipedia is another example that does the same thing. I mean, Wikipedia is not just made of academics. It's made of people that have a keen interest in a subject and actually want to help others with their discoveries. It is part of an ecosystem. These are the main two organizations that have been involved in it, Publicado Foundation and the BBC. And at the core of it, there's something which is called Your Paintings, which is the one in the center. Left to it is Your Painting Tagger. I'll explain a little bit about those two. And Our Detective is the one on the right. All of this has been, as we speak, now moved into a new platform, which is called Art UK. Now, what is it? Some of you will know, but I thought it would be useful to cover what we've done. And then actually, if our wireless network here works, I'll do a live demo. We keep thinking all of that. So basically, we have all the asset in our technology, and we do all technology design and implementation. Now, Publicado Foundation is a small non-profit organization in the United Kingdom. It's small because it's less than 10 people. That in the last 10 years, I don't know how many of you know this, but in the last 10 years, digitized the entire collection of oil paintings across the United Kingdom. That's a lot of work. And they spent 10 years doing that. They went to every single venue. And when I say venue, I don't just mean museums. I mean schools, hospitals, police stations. Anything which is public, anything that has art that the public owns. This is why it's called Your Paintings. The initial goal of the project, when it started 10 years ago, was actually to publish catalogs, and they did that, and they did actually publish 85 beautiful books. But they don't sell very well, and because not everyone has space for 85 books in the library. So they partnered with the BBC, and with the BBC, what they've done was to put all of this online. And now this is a public resource, which has 212,000 paintings, has some 45,000, I think I have the number somewhere, which are here. 216,000 paintings has been digitized, 3,300 institutions, 45,000 artists, and so on. Now, all of this is searchable, but the amount of metadata that we have, of course, being this scale of digitization, is not a lot. We have the artist name, we have the medium, sometimes not always the artist name, the medium definitely, the title, sometimes the date, not always. Next thing that we did together was this, what we call Tagger. And Tagger was the idea of using people to actually help increase searchability of this painting. So tag them according to what's in the painting, according to style, according to movement if possible, what events, what things, what people, and what is the visible part of the painting. This slide tells you that there's a lot of people that actually like doing this, because these are this was taken yesterday. There are people that have actually tagged 35,000 paintings. But most importantly, we have 83 people that have tagged more than 1,000 paintings, and we have a lot of people that are actually active every day. We have at least 2 people on the website, 200 people every day on the website, sorry. 2 would be not much, but 200 people on the website every day. Still today, 3 years later, so it's going fairly well. The new interface that we're building now, which is called Art UK. Why Art UK? Because the next project is to do the same thing for sculpture. So there are very ambitious plans here at stake. The new interface that I cannot yet show because it's going to go live in January, but this is one of the screenshots. So basically, it will allow you to type Gauguin and see where all the Gauguins are across the United Kingdom on a map. Then zoom in and actually go and see the venue. So we believe that it's going to become a fantastic resource, all mobile optimized as well. There isn't a mobile app in plan, but it's a mobile optimized website. And then there's another component to this, which is what is called the permission portal. Basically, this will allow collection and artists to go in, select the paintings that they have responsibility for, and hopefully assign Creative Commons licenses to them. So we can actually then use those images in many other ways. It's a self-help tool, so there isn't, again, it's the idea of distributing this responsibility to the general population and to people that are competent for doing that, and they are responsible for doing it. So these were the numbers that I mentioned before. The other 3 numbers, 12,000, are the number of registered taggers, 2,700 the number of tagging actions. So our tagging action could include multiple tags, and 6 million are the number of tags that we recorded so far. A painting now has to go through 6 tagging actions. 6 people have to see it and tag it before it's considered to be completed. There's a lot of work that goes into after that anyway. Our Detective is the latest one. It was launched now, I think a year ago?
Yeah.
A year ago. And what is Our Detective? Our Detective is something that is more towards the invisible part, or sometimes visible, but not always. Not always. So this is, I'm on your painting now. And I have this painting that I'm looking at. And I can do many things with this. I can add it to my collection. This is a part of the website. But what Our Detective is asking me to do is to say, do you have something that you want to know about this painting that you don't know? So this takes me to a place where I can select the type of question that I have, whether it's a question related to the artist, the subject, the sitter, execution, and so on. And then I can actually type my question, and if I want, I can upload files, I can upload images, I can upload something that justifies what I'm asking. The process then becomes a discussion. I'll tell you a little bit about the set of workflows. So the discussions are, what has happened? So someone has asked this question. Is this portrait of Gilbert Burnett a copy after Godfrey Kneller? Again, this is not for the faint-hearted. I mean, this is not for the general public, probably. But art historian will find this fairly useful. And there are lots of art historians and art critics that actually contribute to this. And there is actually, tapping into this, there's someone has asked a question, which in this case I know that it comes from the collection, because often collection, of course, don't have the resources to do all of this, because there are a lot of big museums that have all the curators and all the researchers that can actually spend time and effort and money into doing research to change attribution or to investigate a painting. But there are museums that we know that actually have 2 people, and they often also run the bar. I actually know of a place like that, and they actually run the restaurant as well as being the museum curator. So these people won't have the resources, and yet they have amazing, amazing works of art. So what this aims at doing is actually allowing them to upload something and ask a question. And this question was then several people, I don't know specifically who these people are, and they go through quite an extensive discussion. There are different types of people that contribute to this. There are what we call group leaders, because all of these all the discussion are grouped into different set of topics. And of course, we have gathered the consensus of actually having academics that come in and help out for free, in their free time, because they're expert in the British 19th century. But of course, they are expert in the British 19th century. That doesn't mean they can look at all the British all the 19th century paintings and investigate them. But what they can do is coordinate the other people's effort. And this is what they do. They try to steer the direction, or to help the direction come out with a result. Then there are collections, there are different types of people. Now, in a year, what has happened through this discussion is that 88 of the 188 discussion, there are 100 are still in progress. 88 of this discussion actually have come up with results. And as you can see, painting attribution has been changed. Scenes have been identified. Sitters have been identified. It's very important work that normally is only done within museums and academia, and this actually happens in the public space, in the public realm. And so basically, if I go and see why this painting is being attributed, this is the summary text that actually goes, and it's the write-up of the summary of the discussion. And then if you want to know why that happened, you can always go back to the discussion and see it all. So this discussion is now closed, so I cannot comment on it because it's considered to be closed. Now going back, just to close, it's not just a forum software, there's a lot more at play. I'm not going to go through all these slides. This is what we call the user experience design. So depending on who you are and depending on who asked the question, we have to take different actions. And depending on, say, the collection response, something happens. If the public catalog Publicado Foundation responds, there's another set of action and so on. So we've done a lot of this diagram, went through with all the stakeholders and identified them. And as part of that, also the wireframe need to have different action depending on who you are. And of course you can be a visitor, a logged in user, a panelist, a group leader, the Publicado Foundation, or a collection. And different options are available for the different types of people, so it was quite a complex forum software that actually we need to develop because there are a lot of extra workload that need to be taken. The numbers. 5,300 proposed discussion, of which 188 were deemed to be of public interest. Why? Because a lot of people say, oh, I have a painting like this, how much is it worth? Well, great, but it's not something that we should discuss publicly. Or I don't believe this should be there, and there's all sorts of questions are asked. 2,829 people are registered. 289 are actually ones that have participated in those 188 discussions. And 88 are the number of results. So far, there's another 100 discussions that are taking place as we speak. And we are confident that we'll come to even more results. So it is live. Go and check it out, and if you want, and contribute to it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions. No questions? Good. Oh, one there.
I wanted to ask you about tagging.
Yeah.
You said that when 6 people have tagged something, that it's considered tagging. Is there any kind of way that you evaluate the tags?
Yeah.
So you edit them somehow?
Yeah, because there are tags. There are 6 different workflows for tagging, actually. You have to tag people, things, events, and other things. Some of them use Wikipedia, and some of them use controlled lists. So there are the statistical rules that we have established that evaluate whether a tag is a valid one or not. We save them all. We keep them all. And there are statistics rules that say, I don't remember if it's 2 or 3. If 2 or 3 people say that there's a dog, there is a dog. If there's only one, probably there isn't a dog. So you will lose something we won't capture because there might be someone very thorough that is the only one that sees a specific detail in a picture. So that will not go online eventually. But then if he's the only one seeing that thing in the picture, probably not many other people are looking for that thing in that picture anyway. So it's not by any means a perfect system. Then there's a notion of actually what is controversial. And we have defined rules for what is controversial. So there's a secondary interface that actually allow the editors to go in and only see the controversial tags, because there are 2 things that might be in contrast with each other. Something cannot be a domestic scene and a landscape. If we have both, which one is right? So that needs human intervention to be clarified. Nothing else? Thank you.
All right, good morning. Thank you all for being here on Saturday morning. My name is William Bluer. I'm a librarian at the Thomas J. Watson Library at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's the main research library there. This talk is called If You've Got It, Flaunt It, Enhancing Discoverability Through Wikipedia. A case study. Basically, it's just the story of how we eventually got people to actually look at our digital collections. It's quite a saga. All right, and also this is Prezi, so there's going to be some dizzying movement throughout the presentation, but thank you for your patience with that. The problem. So we created this huge digital collections. We bought these 2 very, very expensive scanners on the right, and then these 2 flatbed ones, which are not very expensive. So anyway, we're investing this huge amount of resources into the actual hardware that we're using to create the digital collections. More than 20 people in Watson Library are working in some way on creating these digital collections. So we're allocating a ton of resources to creating these things. And what we're creating is pretty cool. One of the collections in particular, the Metropolitan Museum of Art Publications, is trying to digitize every single thing the museum has ever published from 1869 to today. And this is everything from things like the museum's constitution in 1869 to big exhibition catalogs like this Velázquez from 2009 to press releases like this 1995 press release that inaugurated our internet homepage. Pretty awesome. And so the problem is, where art thou? Forgot putting that in there. No one was looking at this stuff. So in our first year, 2011 to 2012, we had a total of 60,000 page views. Probably 59,000 of those were us looking at it. So what we did to solve this. So when I was in library school, I was my practicum, which is, anyway, it doesn't matter. I was trying to find ways of getting people to actually look at digital collections. And so I read this essay, and it talked about how you could share it on MySpace and Friendster and things like that, and how that wasn't super effective. But one thing that this woman, who is a librarian at a university in Texas, I believe, did that actually drove traffic to their site was add citations to stuff in their digital collections in Wikipedia articles. So we began doing that at Watson Library. So I will quickly take you through the editing process that we go through. It's captivating, I promise. So the first thing that we had to do was say who we were. I initially just went on and started adding a bunch of links to stuff in our collections. And within maybe 48 hours, I was being harangued by several serious Wikipedia editors asking who I was and why I'm shilling for the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And anyway, one of them was actually nice and not a complete, and he sort of helped walk me through this process of creating a user page that declared who we were to avoid any sort of conflict of interest, and we set up a process of editing where I would propose on a working page various edits that we wanted to make to Wikipedia, and then theoretically any editor on Wikipedia could come and look and say, that sounds like a great edit, or, you know, die. And so the process is basically I find stuff in our digital collections. This is what it looks like. It's not the most visually alluring thing, but you can download everything on our digital collections as a PDF. I highly recommend doing that because the interface is pretty miserable. But anyway, you find something like this, this huge catalog. It's, 400-page catalog. And so then I will take it to, this is the Vatican Wikipedia page, which I've included. Okay, so then I put it, this is what the working page looks like. And you can see at the top, I create a citation for if I want to add this to the further reading section of the Wikipedia page. And then just beneath that is the external link that I would add if I want to add it to that section. Generally, it's better to add it to the external link section. Further reading is this very fraught section of Wikipedia pages that, anyway, it's kind of a headache. Wikipedia editors are very bizarre people. So anyway, what I do is I put these citations up, and then I, in the comments section, say I'd also like to add it to, and then I list, all the other relevant Wikipedia pages, or what I think are relevant Wikipedia pages. And then from that, this one editor, really just this one guy, John Bod, he is, I think, a retired librarian in England who is a very formidable Wikipedia editor, but he really likes anything related to the Middle Ages. And so I'll put up like a few suggestions and he'll come back with like pages and pages of things I should add it to. Or we'll just create entire pages himself with our material, which is cool. But anyway, so I put up suggestions for pages that we want to add it to. He comments, he says, I think that it'll work on these pages. It won't work on these other pages. And then he'll oftentimes give me suggestions for other pages that I should add it to. This is the further reading and external links. Okay, we're going to just cruise through this whole page here. Anyway, this is what sort of the back end looks like. It's very basic. They have Wikipedia is very good about providing templates for citations. So citations for all sorts of things. We generally just do books. So this is what it looks like from the back end. And then in the end, now on the actual Vatican page, we are in the further reading section, and you can actually link out from the Wikipedia page to our site. So that's the process. We've now expanded it a bit, and we have a Glam wiki page, galleries, libraries, archives and museums. We have a page, and now it's basically all done. For the first 2 years, it was basically just me doing all the editing, and it's not a very labor-intensive thing. It took less than 2 hours a week, probably, that I spent on it. But now we have several interns who are working on it, and this page is just this site is just a good place for them to be able to sort of declare themselves so that they're not accused of shilling for the Met. So the impact has been pretty overwhelming. In 2013, it's a little bit dated, but anyway, it's same now pretty much. 57% of traffic is now coming from Wikipedia, which is up from literally 0% coming from Wikipedia about a year and a half before this. The page views, you can see in March 2012, we had 6,000 page views. In March 2014, we had over 100,000 page views, which is good. And here is a contrast. Wow, the sepia tones look so good on that screen right there. So anyway, yeah, the contrast from our first year online, we had 60,000 page views. In the last year, we've had over 1 million page views. And again, over 50% of this traffic is coming from Wikipedia, just from this single initiative. So Wikipedia is awesome. It's very easy to do. It's a very low-hanging fruit. And this is my information. It's my Twitter handle. And that's my friend's rabbit. So anyway, yeah, if anyone has any questions, yeah.
Just for clarification, your working page
Yeah.
is a subset of your user page,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Okay, and your Glam page, what is the function of that page? Is that
The Glam page is basically a way to organize it as an entire project, to say, this is what the library is doing, here's who's participating, so we can easily add interns, graduate assistants, whatever, who are coming through and working on it. We can create a username and add them to this list. It's also a place where you sort of organize resources for other editors and things like that.
and then all of your other editors have their own user
They all have, they all have their own user page, which links back to that Glam project page.
And do they also include the conflict of interest statement?
Yeah, we all have the same template to declare ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
You're talking about this retired library guy.
Yeah. John Bod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very obvious throughout that you've had like interactions with these Wikipedia people.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, to what point did you find yourself really kind of in the weeds, embroiled with these little fights about it, and what was your policy so if a random guy says no to this, like,
Right.
what, do you fight back? Do you?
John Bod has your back.
Okay.
No, but seriously, no, that's
There are other people that.
right. No, I mean, Wikipedia is generally a pretty nasty place. It's lamentably like 88% men who are editing it, and they're often very maladjusted men. And anyway, so yeah, there are definitely little spats that come up, and you know, some of them are legitimate. Like, you know, sometimes we do add links to completely irrelevant pages, you know, that we didn't do it intentionally, and they have a valid point. But oftentimes, you know, they're just being cranks, and if you have another editor on your side backing you up, the problem goes away fairly easily.
Does that like keep time away from your?
No, it hasn't been. I mean, I could count on a single hand the number of times someone has gotten upset at me, which is rare. Yeah, it is a nastier place than that would let on. But yeah.
So I want to make sure I understand. I've got objects, and I suppose I could have Wikipedia pages on objects from our collection. But
Yeah.
yours are citations that just go back to your web page,
Yeah.
and you're putting those citations in other articles that already exist out in Wikipedia.
Yes. So we're not writing, although we have written several articles, like one on the Thomas J. Watson Library. But yeah, so we create, so, you know, like for the Vatican museums, if we have this 400-page catalog on all the objects from those museums, we'll add a citation to that, which then will take them to our full text downloadable resource.
Have you thought about creating articles for your objects so people can find your objects on Wikipedia?
Yeah. That's just a lot more labor intensive. Yeah.
A couple things. You might want to do it in reverse, which is one of the things we did at the Minnesota Historical Society is we created the Minipedia, which is Minnesota Encyclopedia. We invited we had wiki meetups, held them at the Minnesota History Center, invited the Wikipedia community to come in.
Yeah.
Sort of hosted them, talked with them, talked about what project we were doing, got their input on doing it, as far as how to. So they were very excited that they were being included. So
Yeah.
we kind of jumped the hostility wagon.
Nice.
The other thing is we didn't have anybody work on Wikipedia. We had them do it. They did it for us.
Yeah.
So by the fact that we invited them in, they were very excited. And Wikipedia, of course, they can't put up new material. They can only cite existing materials, which is why they love getting new material and being able to cite to it.
Right.
But that's an alternative to doing it in-house, is invite the community.
Yeah, no,
Actually, our-
editathons are a pretty big thing in New York. There are lots of them. MoMA does a really great one every year. The Guggenheim has done it a few times. But yeah, it's definitely something we're considering. Yeah?
So you mentioned that you sort of created this page, then got called out by the Wikipedia editor.
Yeah.
In the calling out process, did they give you what the preferred process would be, like who you would have contacted if you wanted to?
No, it's just all fire and brimstone. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I thought it was great to see your page views go from 60,000 to 1.2 million. What are you doing with that information now that you know that so many people are looking at your site? Is it helping with fundraising? How's it impacting your operation?
I know the director of the library likes talking about it, but to what ends he uses it, I'm not entirely sure. It's, you know, definitely providing analytics on what's happening with it has been prioritized, and so, you know, on a monthly basis, I'm asked to send out reports on it. So I am not in a position to leverage those analytics, really, but someone's asking for them, and I'm giving them to them, basically, is all I can say. Any other questions? Yeah?
Do you have any sense on, if I understand correctly, you measure the page views that go back to your catalog, so your
Yeah.
objects.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense on the use of those objects before and after? Or
Yeah, I mean, we have some sense of the number of people who are actually clicking the download, so getting the PDF onto their machine, and the number is actually I'm actually a little bit suspicious of the number because it's so high, but it's almost like a third of users are downloading something, which I think is too high, and I probably need to speak with someone about refining what I'm looking at there. But anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of, the number of page views, if they're staying, how long they're staying on the site, stuff like that. We can.
But in comparison with before,
Right. Yeah. No. It's.
you do have that.
Yeah. It's there. There are. I mean, before there was just nothing happening. There's people just weren't using it. Yeah. So. There's not a huge amount to compare there. Okay. Thank you all for coming.